Medina says, can you speak a little on sexual energy during the Kundalini process? I'm naturally quite sexual slash sensual, but since my process started, my sexual desires have completely vanished. Can you speak a little on that? So Jay here adds to the question here, can you also speak to the opposite? My high libido has become annoying to my husband. Okay. So Kundalini awakening can amplify or diminish any type of experience that we can have in life. Emotionally, psychologically, the mind can become very active. The mind can become very still. We can feel a lot of peace emotionally in the body. We can also have, chaotic emotions. Of course, the same applies to our sexual energy, our libido, our sex drive. The energy itself seems to have a very strong component associated with sexuality. Sometimes Kundalini is romanticized as this sexual energy that can be used and harnessed to enhance your sex life, to create a sort of spiritual sexual experiences and whatnot. Some of that is true. Some of it is a little bit, misappropriated from these ideas of tantra and tantric sex and whatnot. But of course, there is some validity here. There is a very powerful sexual component to the Kundalini awakening process. Specifically to the question here, sexual desires can completely vanish at times. It can be scary. A lot of the times we associate our libido, our sex drive with our vitality, our health. And if it suddenly disappears, we can think, well, something has gone wrong, right? We know that when people are depressed, when they have, some hormone imbalances, sex drive can diminish. This can also happen with the Kundalini process. My view with this whole process is no matter what is arising, it's all arising to, show us something, teach us something, to go through some sort of transformation. So we may not always understand the exact details of why the sex drive has now been diminished as a result of this process, but we can use this period that we're in to cultivate a new perspective on sexuality. Maybe for the first time since maybe we were young kids, we can look at the world without, imposing some sort of a sexual agenda on it. You can look at a person and just see them for who they are, as opposed to having some sort of, underlying or even very upfront, like sexual objectification or some sort of agenda. What can I do to, get this person to find me sexually attractive or to sleep with me or whatever. So maybe for a while that sort of theme disappears so we can really connect in a way that's doesn't have sexuality involved. Not that sexuality is a bad thing, but of course it's good to get some different perspectives at times, and this is what this process is about. It can also serve to cause us to drop the physical, biological aim of sexual reproduction and move towards a higher spiritual aim, which is to unite with God, to unite with the spirit, as opposed to uniting with the flesh, with the physical. Once again, not that that's a problem. It's just so there's more to us than just the biology, the physicality. So these are some reasons for why this may come about. As well, the prana itself, the energy itself, may be drawn upwards to higher energy centers, where it's doing work on the throat, the third eye, the crown. We're getting access to these deep meditative states of consciousness, and they may be so fulfilling and satisfying, sometimes even orgasmic, full body orgasm sometimes in these sort of deep meditations, that the idea of sexuality and connecting with somebody in the physical, it's like it's not that important for the time being. For some, it does eventually return, but now the sexuality returns in a new way, where we're able to sort of know that there's more to it. We can use the sexuality as a vehicle to connecting with the spirit now that we've had more of a relationship with connecting with the spirit in general. For some, the sexuality doesn't necessarily have to come back, and that can be scary, but in time you'll find balance. For me, it disappeared for a period, and I became very afraid. I thought, I was, I think, 22 when this happened. So for a 22-year-old, seemingly healthy guy to go completely, almost like a experience of asexuality, was very frightening. I didn't know, what was going wrong. So I understand, but eventually it came back. It came back in a more balanced way. I'm able to be a little bit more conscious around it now that I have some space. So these are some things you can sort of look towards. It disappears and then it comes into a new degree of integration and balance. To Jay's question here, can you also speak to the opposite? My high libido has become annoying to my husband. Yeah, the libido can also become very, very heightened as well. Once again, as a lot of prana goes into those lower energy centers, the second chakra, sacral chakra, we can become very sexually charged. And this is once again a sign of vitality. It can also be as a result of, maybe prior to that, we were in some sort of dealing with, maybe depression or hormone imbalance, or maybe there was some trauma around sexuality and shame. And now as those things start to clear, suddenly the libido comes online because it's unimpeded by, the resistance, the conditioning, maybe you could call it trauma or karma around those themes. So the sexuality comes on in a new way. Once again, in time, if you can harness that energy and bring consciousness to it, because now it's in your face and you learn how to become conscious about it, which is a different way from it disappearing. Eventually you can, find a steady balance. Of course, I like to say Kundalini, every dimension of our life will go through some changes, our career, our relationships, and perhaps, this issue around, your high libido annoying your husband is also bringing up some things to contemplate within the relationship that you can look at through a more conscious lens, and whatnot. So there's some ideas about sexuality and Kundalini. It's difficult stuff. Obviously, it's not talked about too much because it's obviously it's sensitive, but just like anything else, sexuality can go through some significant changes. Not unusual, not unheard of. Nothing's going wrong. You're not sick, but of course, no medical advice here. And I honestly encourage people to consult with their doctors. No harm in saying, I haven't got my sex drive. Maybe I'm, there's some imbalances that I should, get some blood work and get it checked out and see what the doctors have to say. Nothing wrong with that as well. Okay.